Welcome back to Sow, Grow and Cook. Do you know, it's been ages since we've had a tour of the vegetable garden. Um, it's kind of ticking along nicely. As you can see, I've got some things like leeks and brassicas growing. Here's some garlic that's been mulched in leaf mold to stop the water from eroding, and some more garlic that I planted later, which hasn't quite come up. And some rutabaga or Swedes growing. I grow a few for our consumption. The leaves are nice too. Some beds that need a bit of tidying up, and lots of winter leeks. I love leeks as an onion substitute, and they're lovely in their own right as well. I make leek gratin and leek and potato soup. They're delicious and very useful. Over here is our hugel culture experiment and some Savoy cabbages, which are very winter tolerant, very winter hardy. We've got a few leaves nestling amongst the folds of the cabbage there, just need to pull out. And to the left is a perennial flower border, and I've planted some tulips and daffodils, which will hopefully come up in the spring. Now you can see the grass has really grown in between the beds, but we had such a wet autumn that I couldn't really get out and trim it, so it'll just have to wait till next year. Here's a nice view of things behind the polytunnel. Right, inside our top polytunnel is a central long bed of salad greens and spinach. So first of all, we have got some proper spinach that I planted in mid-September in little modules and then planted out at the end of September. The variety is, I think there's two varieties here. One is Winter Giant and the other one is something beginning with an M, and I can't remember what it was, but it's not anything fancy. It's just a bog standard spinach. Now all this stuff growing in between, there's a few weeds here, but there's also quite a lot of whistling or claytonia, which must have self-seeded in, and the seeds must have been retained in the compost that I then put on the bed, because they are coming up everywhere. I've planted it deliberately further down. Here you go. There's also some fennel that has self-seeded. I'm just smelling the plants to make sure. And then there's other things in here like chickweed and I don't know what else. Right, further along we have got some rocket or arugula, which I think you call it in North America. I like their peppery, slightly bitter leaves in my salad. Oh, here we go. We've got some self-seeded auric. That comes up everywhere. And here's the winter purslane or claytonia, which I deliberately planted. It's a very mild tasting salad green, very winter hardy, cold tolerant. Of course, we're inside the polytunnel, so it gets a little bit of shelter in here. It's very mild tasting, a good contrast to the more peppery rocket or arugula. Next bit over is more rocket, my favorite actually. And I did put some radicchio in, and most of them died except for this one. But I have got a ton of self-seeded parsley. Again, I grow quite a lot of parsley and it does go to seed. It's a biennial. And I do let the seeds just drop, and they end up in the compost, and they end up all over the place. And it's one of my favorite culinary herbs, so I'm very happy to just let it continue growing. Here's a little self-seeded calendula, and some grass growing as well, which I'll pour out. You do get things that I don't necessarily want in here. Okay. A little bit further over, more Claytonia. The one nice thing about living in this maritime climate of West Wales here, and the UK in general, is that we do get cold winters, but much milder than you get in some areas of Europe and North America. So we can grow things over the winter, generally, provided they are cold tolerant, like oriental greens. And these are, oh, now, what are they? I think they're a red tatsoi. And I pluck the leaves and put them in our salads, but you could stir fry them. They're a little bit like bok choy, a little bit spicy. Now this one here, which is going to seed, is, I'm just trying to find the label here. It is choy sum. I've never grown it before, but it's the one thing that has bolted early. Having said that, the blossoms are edible. They're very pretty. They are edible. And the leaves and the stems are all edible. And they really add something lovely to a winter salad, these yellow blossoms. Further along, we've got some mixed Chinese mustard greens. These were seeds that I got from our local seed library. So somebody had saved the seeds and donated them back to the seed library. And in amongst them, looks like there's some sort of Mizuna or red, some sort of red mustard. And again, some self-seeded parsley, flat leaf parsley here. I do like that. And here we've got some sort of kale. It is a commercial seed packet. What is it called? It's a Ethiopian kale, Amara. And you can pick them and add them to your salad, and again they are winter hardy. As an experiment, I planted a packet of Marvel of Four Seasons lettuce seed in October because we had a really mild autumn. It's only recently turned cold, and they've come up really, really well. So I've been using the thinnings in our mixed salad, and they're really tasty. It'll be interesting to see how these fare as the weather turns colder this winter. Further over, I just scattered some packets of rocket and some chives. And there's some self-seeded parsley again. And some self-seeded red auroch. And a few self-seeded lettuces. And I give these a drink periodically just to ensure that they're growing steadily. That's the thing, when you grow winter salads in your greenhouse or polytunnel, they're not going to need quite as much watering as they would in the summer, but they still do need watering, so it's important to check. I just touch the soil, and if it feels incredibly dry, then I give it a drink, but I'm only watering maybe once or twice a week at most. And I will water the young seedlings a little bit more frequently, just to ensure that they get established. Now, to my left, I've got some Florence fennel growing here. That's supposed to be the bulbing fennel. They're taking a while to get going. I've grown them before, and maybe I've left them a little bit late this year. But I'm not in a huge rush. And again, I've got some self-seeded parsley and other weeds. And here we have got some red giant mustard. Absolutely stunning. Great in stir fries, wonderful in salads. Very tasty indeed, and very cold tolerant. And I've got some interesting things over here I wanted to show you. First of all, it's my asparagus bed, which always looks a little bit sad this time of year. But we have got one rogue asparagus spear coming up for some reason. Oh, 2 or 3 actually. Look at that. Another one. We're in December, for goodness sake, take a nap. Right, here we are. Here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sugar beets. Now, a friend of mine was growing some sugar beet for her goats, and she's since got rid of her goats and didn't need all the sugar beets, so it was growing in her polytunnel, and she dug them all out very carefully and shared them amongst a few of us. And I've planted 8 of the biggest ones because these are biennial. They're a bit like regular beets. So I've planted them back in. This is a few weeks ago. Trimmed the leaves back, and they're doing really, really well. And basically, I'm going to overwinter them, coddle them a little bit, water them, and hopefully the idea is they'll go to seed in the spring, and by summer I'll be able to harvest some of the seeds, which will have adapted to the growing conditions around here. And you can feed sugar beets to your livestock. Cattle, sheep, goats will like the leaves as well as the roots. And of course, with a bit of experimentation, you can actually make a molasses type syrup from the beets themselves, and that's an experiment I'm going to try. And with a few additional steps on top of that, you can make a sort of crystallized brown sugar. And I think that would be really, really interesting, to grow your own sugar beets and make your own sweetener. That's one less thing potentially to have to buy from the supermarket, and it just seems really quite sustainable, especially as you can use the pulp that's left over to feed to your animals as well. So I'll be doing a video on how I experiment with making beetroot molasses, or sugar beet molasses rather. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming up in a few weeks' time. Going a little further along, I've got my carrots, growing in a big patch here. I find the ones that I grow undercover seem to do a little bit better, especially I've been planting these every sort of 3 weeks throughout the summer. So I've got some older ones across the way and the younger ones here. Let's see, let's pull one, see what it looks like. Okay, not massively big, but perfectly usable. And it's always important to keep watering them. And there I've got a couple of Swiss chard that have grown on their own. Now here's a thought. Swiss chard and sugar beet are related, and they could, in theory, I think, cross. So I'll have to make sure that these don't go to seed at the same time as the sugar beet goes to seed, because I wouldn't want to get a hybrid. I just want to have the sugar beet as sugar beet. So hopefully I'll use the chard up before that time. Thanks again for watching Sow, Grow and Cook. Hope to see you next time, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.